What's up, guys? It's a great day here at GRW.
Why are you zooming in on my phone?
.460L in for a little bit of work. These are the Aiden wheels that we recently became a vendor for. They're the Aiden forged wheels, AFF9. They are 20 by 10.5 in the rear, and 20 by 9 in the front. I get the numbers mixed up. I'm pretty sure it's plus 35 in the rear, plus 30 in the front, or the other way around. The reason we have it all apart today is I did the fronts a while back, a couple of weeks ago, but for some reason, even though this is a two-wheel drive 460L, it has the all-wheel drive calipers. And so I ordered everything for a two-wheel drive. It turns out the rotors were too small. The pads are the same. The rotors were too small. When I say the pads are the same, I went with EBC yellow stuff. And, you know, before I started trying out EBC brake pads, I didn't really think, you know, there was an argument to be made for street level pads of a better compound versus just buying track race pads, you know. But I was wrong. I am definitely a huge believer in upgraded brake pads now. The yellow stuff is about the most aggressive compound that you can get without having to do preheating on your brakes. So like I was saying, this car came equipped with four-wheel drive calipers, the other stamping, versus the two-wheel drive stamping is the K17 stamp there. And I don't know if the rears have a stamping on them or not. I'm not going to dig back there. Anyways, so I wanted to keep my GRW calipers that Colby painted for us, or excuse me, that Colby powder coated for us, but I actually sold the LS460 caliper upgrade off of the other car and then realized that, oh, hey, the calipers are different. So I put the smaller rotors up front. I put my GRW calipers on here, and with the rotor and caliper being bigger from the factory, the heat shield was hitting, so I did have to bend the heat shield just a little bit to clear it. You can trim it, you can bend it, whatever. That's my car. So obviously on the customer car we do it right and swap the heat shield. But so I've got two-wheel drive calipers and rotors up front, and I've got the four-wheel drive calipers, rotors, pads in the rear. So that's why I'm doing the rears today instead of all four wheels. So anyways, it's just another, you know, it's a Saturday. I really try to reserve weekends only working on my stuff, or I'm not up here, because that's just a hard boundary that, you know, I have to set. Anyway, since we're working on mine, one of the issues on the 460 is camber adjustment, or lack thereof, in the front. And so I've been brainstorming quite a few ideas. I did take this bracket off. Lexus does sell these positive camber brackets, but it's only like plus 1 millimeter this way, or 2 millimeters. It's not worth the expense to just get like an extra 2/2 of a degree. So the only other option as of right now is like T-Demand, or I can't remember the other JDM brand. They sell adjustable upper control arms for about $1,200 for the set. Or there's another company, I think T-Demand makes it too. But there's two companies that make adjustable lower rear control arms for about $2,400 for the pair. And so, yeah, I think because they're such low volume, you know, that's probably why they cost so much. Or it's a Lexus tax. So anyways, I started brainstorming a little bit. I was going to try to find some type of eccentric cam that would work in here. And I can't really find anything that I'm super happy with that isn't going to require drilling out this bracket and also drilling out the metal sleeve on the inside where the control arm bushing is to accommodate it. And I may end up doing that, but I'd really like to make something and sell it that's just, you buy it, bolt it onto the car with little to no fabrication involved. So what I did come up with is, if you loosen this bolt way back here, just loosen it, you don't take it all the way out, you take this bolt all the way out. If you had a longer bolt, on a lot of American cars, there are alignment shims available you can get at any auto parts store. And if you actually loosen that, take this bolt out, and theoretically you put a longer bolt in it, what you could do is you could pry this further away from the body, which would increase your positive camber angle this way, and you could get some camber adjustment out of it. So that sounds like a viable solution, but really my only concern is by prying this out, your caster angle changes slightly. And so, you know, I guess I'll just have to play with it with the alignment shop and see just how much caster we lose. This is your tension rod that theoretically you could adjust caster for. Now I did go down the route of ordering the 13 and up, supposedly according to the Lexus book, that control arm bolt you can get with shims, or excuse me, you can get eccentric cams for it. And it allows you to bring your caster in and out. So I ordered them from Lexus, so when they showed up they were way too short. They almost look like they fit this instead. And so, you know, that may be something that we explore for where we use this bracket to adjust our camber, and then we add the Lexus factory adjustment camber bolt here, or excuse me, caster bolt, to correct the caster offset that we, you know, that happens from over here. Now the other thing I'm working on, I'll lift the vehicle up so you guys can see this. Here's your lower control arm mounting point, and you'll notice there's a slight indentation like in the cross member here. So on some of your other Toyota vehicles like Tundras, Tacomas, FJ Cruisers, whatever, your lower control arm actually has an eccentric cam that rides in this channel looking thing that's built onto the cross member that allows you to adjust your camber. Now, we have a parts store next door to us called XL Parts, and these guys are like super accommodating for us. So shout out to Justin and all of his staff. He lets me go in there and just kind of poke and prod, measure things, charge out like 20 different parts, and then return like 19 different parts when I find the one that fits. So he's given us access to the SPC camber adjustment parts that they have, and I've found a couple of different bolts that I know will work. And I found a kit that has possibly a bracket that we could make a jig for and drill some fastener holes into this cross member to allow those brackets to sit flush, or to allow those brackets to stay planted on here. And then all we would have to do is this control arm hole would now have to be slotted, and then we can put eccentric cams there and adjust our camber angle. That is going to be a more in-depth and the proper way to do it. I'm kind of weighing my options right now because I'm also trying to make it affordable, but you know, at the end of the day, it is what it is. If it costs what it costs, you know, if we're going to produce them, and you know, maybe we'll sell some, maybe we won't, I don't know, but either way, it's getting made for mine. And so if, you know, any of you LS460 owners out there want to correct your camber, you know, that other than buying JDM control arms, that's really going to be your only option. I'm going to chip away at knocking a few more things out. I got a few splash shields to install, and then I'm going to actually shift gears. And even though I'm up here on a Saturday working on my personal car, I've got a lot of Megasquirt stuff to mess with. We occasionally have people send us in their stuff for diagnostics. You know, they either get a bunch of settings crossed, or there's a drivability problem that may or may not exist on their car. And so just for the process of elimination, you know, we typically will tell people, hey, just send us the harness back. We'll run it on our test motor and see if we can verify your complaint. I don't know how many people, we try to advertise this quite a bit, but you know, it's always good to say that this is our quality control process. This is our entire station for, you know, Megasquirt fabrication. This is our L28 test engine. And what we'll do is you know, this is set up to run indefinitely so long as we have fuel, right? It's got radiator, fans, charging system. So if we needed to do a long-term diagnostic on one, we could let it run indefinitely. But anyways, we field test every single Megasquirt harness before it leaves. And, you know, we actually, I don't know if it's because we are just high volume with do-it-yourself auto-tune, or you know, if other people have this experience, but we see quite a lot of QC issues out of do-it-yourself auto tuners, and I'm not bashing them. They're an awesome vendor. They always take care of us. They never give us any problems. But, you know, it's just something that I think doesn't get said enough because, you know, a lot of the times, you know, we'll have clients that are, you know, upset about the lead times on some of our Megasquirt products, which is fair. You know, it's definitely something that we're working to address to cut down on the lead times. You know, with some of the electronics issues that we have, it sets our entire schedule back, you know, so I mean, for instance, there was a time where we had 4 MS3Xs. The harnesses were built, they were ready for testing. We went to test them, all 4 of the ECUs had issues, which, you know, I'd like to hope is unusual. What I'm getting at is I think that we just run so much volume of do-it-yourself auto-tune that we're just within that law of averages of, you know, hey, 1% of all ECUs are going to have quality issues or failures, and we just happen to be getting all of them. So it's still a relatively low failure rate for us, you know. We just do so many Megasquirts that, you know, like I said, I think we're just, you know, within that margin of error, and we're getting a lot more error sometimes than success. So anyways, you know, that adds layers of complications into our orders, and, you know, when we had to send those 4 back under warranty, they were in the middle of a production run. So, you know, all of those clients had to wait an additional 4 weeks just to get new ECUs. And so, you know, it sucks. Like, we're doing what we can, but a lot of times there's only so much that we can do given, you know, the capabilities of the vendors that we rely on and things like that. You know, so we at least try to implement as many steps as we can to eliminate room for error on our part and any doubt, you know. So it's out there on the forums, Facebook forums and Z-Car forums. We did have a recall on one of these a long time ago that, you know, we've got one former client that's still really pissed off about it. It is what it is, you know. It's been 5 years. But, you know, he had a really bad experience, and you know, we used to bench test these things. We just test it on the bench with a voltmeter, hook it up to Tuner Studio, flash the tune, and oh, it should be good. Well, that was a huge mistake on our part. We shipped out 5 multi-coil spark setups, not knowing that when people were putting them on the cars, they had major issues. And so we had to recall 5 of them. 3 of the clients allowed us to fix them at no charge, and we gave them, you know, some discounted products for future purchases, and 2 of them wanted us to buy them back outright, which was, you know, that's fine, cost of doing business. But all that to say, the reason we did that, or the reason that we have this test motor now, is because of that situation. We don't want any room for error. We can say with 100% certainty that if you order a Megasquirt harness from us, it is fully field tested and quality controlled before it ever leaves here. The moment it comes off this test motor and it goes in the shipping box, it has been certified and checked that we know it works 100%. That's not something that I know our other competitors can offer. You know, so just to give you guys kind of a preview of like what we do differently here, we really try to drive home quality and making sure that things function at 100% before it ever leaves our door. But anyways, back kind of to what I was talking about earlier is occasionally we'll have somebody that, hey, you know, I can't get my car to start, or I've got this issue, I've got that issue, and it happens. You know, sometimes, you know, back to the ECU thing, is it could test fine here, we get it to a customer, he hooks it up, 10 minutes later it dies. It's very rare, but those kind of things happen. We're kind of like, well, send it back, we'll test it for free. I can tell you for 100% certainty that it ran before it left here. You know, let's get it back, let's diagnose it, let's make sure that there's not, you know, some damage from shipping or a manufacturer defect, things like that. So anyways, I've got like 3 or 4 to test and just sort through some issues that customers have been reporting. So yeah, we're gonna move back onto the 460 for now. I'm gonna put my splash shields in. I'm not gonna film any of that. It's pretty straightforward. And then, you know, I'm sure we're gonna be covering a lot of other stuff in this monthly vlog. So I'm gonna go get back to work while I have a day where the phone's not ringing off the hook every 5 minutes. All right, we wrapped this, I wrapped up this engine build last night, and it's pretty much ready for us to stab it into the car. We told them to give us about 6 weeks or so we can get a couple of these other project cars out of here, and then we'll get this one stabbed in. It's 280ZX. We did a customer pick this green and silver look on the powder coating, so we got that wrapped up. And the next one on the list is this one, which is going in 280Z outside. So we're getting this engine assembly wrapped up today. I've got the spray bar on, get the valve cover cleaned up, get it sealed up, and then it'll be ready for extremities, intake, exhaust, and drop it in the car. It's just your standard N42, well, it wasn't N42. Her block was too severely pitted for us to even do a 40 thousandths overbore. So I had a spare F54 block that we just used the dish pistons out of her other build, or the rest of her parts. So compression, all that's still going to be the same. She just has an updated turbo block. And so we just checked all the clearances last night, and it's ready for sealing it up. This is one of our wastegate setups. We're getting ready to send this off to ceramic, but we have to have this broken stud machined out. It happens sometimes on these builds. We got to put extended studs in it to clear the GT30 turbo housing. And sometimes the studs break, so we got to do a little bit of extra machine work. Some more close-up shots of the external wastegate setup. We've made quite a few of these, and it's kind of standard practice for us on a lot of our bigger turbo builds in-house. It's a Garrett GT30 that we offer on our website. We just weld a dump tube to the factory cast iron manifold. It's actually a really good quality black iron cast manifold, so it's really good for welding. You can MIG weld it, but we TIG with the proper filler rod for stainless to mild or stainless to cast, and the rest is just your standard stainless steel welding. And so we're almost wrapped up with this one. We just need to trim the downpipe, weld a V-band to it, and then everything can go to ceramic. When's the last time when y'all saw a PT Cruiser turbo, let alone a convertible? Originally came to us to have the speedometer and all that fixed. It was at another shop and they botched the whole cluster setup. Apparently the turbo and non-turbo clusters are different, and it turns out they intermingled parts and we could never get it to act right. And finally he had to import one out of Canada, have the mile per hour faceplate put on, have it recalibrated, and we got that working. It's been working flawlessly. But it's actually in for a convertible top not working. And so we could hear the motor running in the back. And once Bo got it apart, we thought it was electric. It's actually hydraulic. There's the pump, and it's got a small little reservoir. It was out of fluid, so we started adding fluid to it. And inside these two trim panels, there are hydraulic actuators, and they are leaking. So I've got to send these actuators off to get rebuilt. Your only option is either get rid of the car or find a rebuilder. Luckily, we found one up in Oregon, so we're going to send these off shortly to get rebuilt and resealed, and then hopefully he'll have a working convertible top again. Got another Z32 in for your standard Z32 stuff. We did the knock sensors. Customer supplied us with a whole new harness from, I think it's a Z1 harness. So we put a new engine harness in it. He had us go ahead and do the rear main. We've got the transmission out, and we're currently waiting on a front cover gasket. For some reason, they're on back order from our local Nissan dealer. You know, it's a pretty common part because the front of the transmission is leaking. So we've got input shaft, output shaft seal, and a front cover gasket we're waiting on. We're going to do the heavy-duty clutch fork upgrade kit that we sell while we have it apart. So we bought an Apex cross member that's supposed to be for a T56 and CD009, and we're going to make it work for this TH350. We ordered it from Apex uncoated so that we wouldn't have to sand a bunch of powder coating off of it, since we're going to modify it anyways. So this is a slowly pieced together an LS swap drag race car. Alright, here's the finished product. I say finished because we're waiting to hear back from the customer if he wants to powder coat it or just have a spray paint it, but you know, we got it tucked up a little bit higher, but he's gonna have to run oval tubing. There's just no ground clearance on these things. But that's a modified Apex cross member for dual exhaust. To fix the car, you must become the car.
On this thing you do. You saw me standing in engine bay, right?
Yes.
Sick.
So those little contact points go bad on these sending units and stop triggering the fuel pump, where you get excessive resistance. So we had our own Quantum Fuel Systems breakout connector. So you get a solid connection to the fuel pump. And this one started up and ran. We're gonna put a coil rad radiator in it and then drive it. See how it runs with the new harness and all the new goodies. He did ask us to dial in the timing for the crank angle sensor, so we'll do that. But and this one here, we already pushed this other car back underneath it, but this will be the third LS swap car we've worked on, but this will be the first that we've done start to finish. This one's got the Ford 8.8 kit from Apex that we've been slowly piecing together, and we have it 90% finalized. I had to order some StopTech rear brake hoses for the rear calipers, and we got to figure out the parking brake situation. It has Dirty Dingo engine mounts, and we put them way too far forward originally when we had the drive shaft made, and then when we realized that we had it too far forward, we scooted everything back, but I had to send the drive shaft back out to get shortened. So hopefully that'll be here in a few days, and we might be able to actually move this thing under its own power. He paid to have a 8.8 Explorer rear end rebuilt with the limited slip, so it's got an LSD in it. We actually heard this thing run for the first time yesterday. I would have shot a video earlier, but I was busy. So we'll get a quick little teaser video before this vlog is over to show that show off the LS motor. Cigarette break Charlie over there. So when we get the other LS swap car off the lift and moving under its own power, we can bring our attention to this one. This is owned by Mr. Everson, and he shipped it all the way from the Pacific Northwest. That's our ITB car. That one's waiting on a brake master cylinder and tuning. And then we're going to put a vintage air unit in this, so we'll make sure to document parts of that, because we have a few parts coming down the pike as well on that, like you know, hose kits, mounting brackets, and we're actually going to be installing a new compressor on this one and making conversion hoses so that, you know, say your factory compressor just finally goes out, we'll have a vintage air compressor with replacement hoses, so it's just a direct plug-and-play swap. This one, we're almost done tuning it. It's an ET conversion that I showed in the last month's vlog. I think our goal is to get this out of here this week. Yeah, we reset the valve lash, have been doing our break-in procedure for our engines. Any engine that we build in-house, we have a very strict break-in procedure, and we don't break it. We pretty much do the exact same thing with every single build, several different checks and oil inspections, cutting the filters open, looking for any issues. So by the time you get the final product, if you have us build an engine and install it, you know, everything from the very beginning teardown documentation all the way to the final assembly, start to finish, we document the entire process. You get build sheets with it, so you know the exact oil clearances. And, you know, if we catch anything funny, we correct it long before it leaves here. But anyways, I think I just have like a small portion of the wide open throttle map to finish up. And it's ready to go home to Mr. Bonnet. And then it'll be due back in 1,000 miles for another oil change and inspection. And our homie Subu is back with the drift car. This time, voluntarily, he's having us install a proper exhaust for this car. Somebody just put a junk 370Z exhaust on it. It doesn't fit. Some of the support brackets underneath the car were sawzalled out, so we're going to fix that properly. There's some of the builds we did last summer. I'm sure we're going to continue to add to the wall as we do more and more builds. And then, you know, if you like these cool neon signs, these are available for sale on our website. It's a real cool guy named Max manufactures those. Here's one you don't see every day, M3. Got a slight overheating condition. This one's owned by Mr. Wright. He's one of our really good customers. We built his Z32 last summer, which you can go check out on our blog on our website. This thing's in really good shape. Alright, we're shooting Mr. Brunner's car today for our build blog on the website. He's back for his 1,000-mile oil change. Got the homie Colby in the background. Follow Xeon Photos on Instagram. Yeah, so he's back for his 1,000-mile oil change. I'm also going to shoot kind of a recap video for this, but this little chunk here is going to go for the vlog. We're in a nice, hot, and sunny part of downtown Fort Worth. Hopefully Matthew and Methany don't bother us while we're trying to do some work here. Shout out to Xeon Photos. He does really good work, but I feel like sometimes he just, I think he's trying to convince me that it's worth the money. Nah, just kidding. About to hit up a super secret invite-only car meet. Shout out to Sean for the invite. It's kind of rare these days that we get to all enjoy a car meet collectively as a company. We've got some of our employees meeting us out there. We are all usually so busy with life in general that it almost never happens, so. Here is the LS motor that we're piecing together for Mr. Everson. We went with a built-ish 5.3 block. This one is, I have to look at my nose, but I'm almost certain this one is like a 450 crank horsepower motor. You know, we'll see what it makes on the dyno after we get everything in the car and running. It's going to be running a Holley EFI setup, you know, long tubes, kind of just a general package for LS swaps. We got a Phytech intake with a 102mm throttle body. Alright guys, we're going to wrap up July's blog update. You have to forgive me for my voice. It's allergy season in Texas, so go figure. But yeah, we got some cool stuff going on. It's end of the month / beginning of the month. So we got quite a few drop-offs for beginning of the month that we're gonna mess around with. But so their LS swap, we finally got the drive shaft here. It's in, bolted in. This harness is going to need a lot of wiring repair. This is how we received it. You know, previous owner hacked up a bunch of the wiring for, I think, just a carbureted V8. You know, put a bunch of GM style stuff on it. So we've got to undo all that so that we can get the Holley EFI system to power up and work properly. We got the fans to wire. We got a few other things. We've heard this thing run a few times. I'm not going to have any actual startup clips until next month. So the customer's cool with me running the manifold spacers, and I told him, hey, if it doesn't work out, we'll just yank it off and get the right stuff. But this way, for now, we're not held up on parts. But I got the oil pan on, I got the front timing cover on. I was going to install a balancer tonight, but then I realized my balancer tool does not have the LS style adapter that I need. So I got that. I'm going to send Oscar out to Summit tomorrow, pick that up. Some of you guys may be aware of this. We rebuild turbo distributors here. This particular one actually had a bad bearing. So we finally found a line on bearings and tracked them down. And we sandblast them, repaint them so they look somewhat presentable. And oh yeah, I had Ryan put an actual proper fuel cell on this. For a while we were running a fabricated, just regular small 1-gallon fuel tank. And it was on his last legs, and it started leaking real bad when I was filming the Megasquirt setup instructions. So I was like, nah, let's just fix it right. This one we're going to talk about on the August vlog. But that is a over 400,000 mile Corvette. And this thing is still rock solid. This guy drives it all around the country. He just got back from Nashville. He took it to the National Corvette Museum. Other than that, appreciate you guys sticking with us and watching while we have all kinds of different shenanigans going on. I'm going to start pulling in the rest of these cars for the night. And I'm going to go home. Because it's been, I don't know, 3 weeks worth of 110-degree weather over here, and I'm over it. So, but yeah, that's it for July 2023 at Godzilla. Appreciate y'all watching. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button, and we'll see y'all next month.